Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's episode 168. I am Mike Myland. That is Blaine Birch. This is a Mike and Blaine show. Welcome to our podcast. And I got to tell you, Blaine, I rarely look at that intro video. You did fantastic, man. I'm looking at him, I'm going, dude, that's just good work. You just do good work, my man. What's up?
Well, thank you, but I think I got to update it a little bit because I'm like, man, that's getting pretty old. We look so young, but I have to update that. So I keep thinking one of these days we should. I don't know if the mic picks up while the intro's playing. I think we should just belt it out and see what happens, and people can hear our horrible voices just ringing through their office and headphones.
Well, I do got to tell you that, yeah, my mic was hot last week, right? It was like too high. I had changed everything. I changed computers. I changed monitors, speakers, same microphone. I didn't change the settings, and boom, I was blowing everybody out. Pat was like going, dude, you were so loud. And so did we fix it? Pat, surely you're going to be listening. Pat, is it fixed?
Let us know. Go if you're on a live stream here. Just let us know, chat, and because to my ears it's better. Because I know when I was editing it last week, I'm like, holy crap, you were loud. So I actually had to download separate audio files and sync them all up and everything. So yeah, guys, let us know if Mike's still a little loud or if I am now. It sounds good on this side, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah. So again, this is Mike and Blaine. We're in 168 episodes. If you've never heard of us, or if you're just saying this is my first one, like, subscribe, go to our YouTube channel. If you want to see it live, I mean, just not live, but you want to see pictures, video, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe there. If not, we're on Google, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple. It doesn't matter where you look for podcasts, we're on it.
Yeah, definitely catch us. And we keep getting more and more comments, more and more people following us, we get lots of people watching our shorts too, which is super fun. So make sure you join us. But what we do now, of course, it's biz and BS. Like we talk a lot of biz, a little bit of BS, but we always start with a beer. We like to feature little microbreweries and actually promote these small businesses that we love that happen to also be microbreweries. And we even have some beer sponsors. So before we dive into our beer sponsor, what are you drinking this week?
Hey, I have a special concoction by neighbor Pat. That tell you what happened when he and I played cornhole with the neighbors. You know, it was during the Mike Tyson fight, right? Of all things, we played cornhole during the Mike Tyson fight, which was a sham. I'm so disappointed in what happened. The fights before that were fantastic. That fight, the one that you stayed up for, not great at all, right? But
I got to jump in with a little BS right off the hop because I saw today conspiracy theory that he threw the fight, that Tyson threw the fight. And I'm like, yeah, garbage, BS. And then I saw a video. It was only about a 4-second video. And I'm still like, BS, whatever. And I watched it and I'm like, holy shit, he threw the fight. Watch the video because Paul's hit, like he's got his glove down and Tyson's coming in. He could have cocked him like right on the chin and knocked him flat. And he pulls the punch down and he doesn't swing. He literally stops his punch. And I'm like, dude, okay, that looks a little suspicious.
So fucking disappointing. I was so upset, dude. This is Mike Tyson, the guy we grew up with. We know when he got in the ring, sometimes you might not last a minute.
Yeah.
And when
I have paid for pay-per-views and it would be like, what the heck? It's over. You know, we're still like opening a beer and grabbing a hot dog and you know, basement full of friends. We bought pay-per-view and it's over before it even starts.
So that was the ending disappointment of my night.
Okay.
Yeah. Cornhole, though, prior to the Mike Tyson fight, cornhole, It's Thomas. It's Pat. It's me. It's Josh. We're all there. And I let Chelsea pick the teams, right? 4 people.
All right.
Nobody knows how to pick it. I said, hey, I got an intern that can figure this out for us. Guess who puts 2 people on the team? Who do you think she teams up?
Oh boy, you were teammates with Pat for probably the first time.
I was teammates with Pat, and guess what? We got stomped so bad. It was like all the shit I've talked. We lost every game. We were just bad. The first one wasn't even close. And I got to tell you what, neighbor Thomas, who lives right across, he's a fire captain for San Antonio Fire Department. This guy, I think maybe they didn't have enough fires to go to. I think all he does is practice all day long, cornhole. He was hitting 3 or more, sometimes 4 bags in the hole every time. It's like I was watching ESPN with this guy through. Like, holy shit. Like, this is the best, like it's a professional cornhole player that we're playing against, and Pat and I got stomped.
You won't be able to trash talk Pat so much now.
No, I can still trash talk Pat. I just can't trash talk Thomas.
I guess. Maybe you shouldn't be quite as cocky with your own talents then, eh? Anyways, let's see what Pat's got going here.
So again, it's a neighbor Pat, and he has got a seasonal pumpkin spice, right? Ale for me. So I'm excited. He brought it over to Cornhole to give to us, and it was really good. It was really good. So neighbor Pat, nice job, buddy.
Nice. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. And sorry you got saddled with Mike on your team on the weekend, because apparently he wasn't holding up his end of the bargain. So I went to pick out a beer today, and I always like to look at the topic and then come up with something that just goes with our topic. And I had this can. I looked at it and went, oh, that looks perfect for the topic. And then I looked at it, it was 11%. And I went, oh, okay, maybe not. And then I started to go through my fridge, and I was over at, I'm going to pump them because it's such a great place. Trevor's up in North Scottsdale here, and buying beer. And I realized everything I bought was either an Imperial or a double and I'm like, holy crap, everything here is like over 10, 12%. And so I found one that doesn't have anything to do with the topic, but it's a cool can. It's called Ocular Eclipse Hazy. It is a double DIPA. It just happened to be one of the ones that was more like 8% instead of the 10, 12 and all those ones. And it's from Phase 3 Brewing, who I am not even familiar with Phase 3 Brewing, but it looks like they're from Illinois, Lake Zurich, Illinois. And I've been sipping it while we're BSing at the start here, and it is actually, it's delicious. It is a really good beer. So Phase 3, I've just, discovered another really good brewery.
Nice. It's always amazing when we did that. Like, it's just like last week. I think I came up with one that I hadn't had before. So very cool. So I tell you what, we got Jackie York. I got to tell you the big news. She is moving back to the continuous. Is it continuous or contiguous? What's the 48 states? What do they call that? Continuous? Anyway, she's moved from Hawaii to San Diego.
Okay.
So I don't know what the words are to say that, but hey, welcome back, right? Now it's going to be easy because I'm over in the San Diego area all the time. And I tell you, I love it when I travel around and the people that are part of my community, I can go out with them. Like next week on Tuesday, I'm going to be in Spokane for a live event for Washington Trust Bank and the Minority Business Association called AHANA with an A, AHANA, in the Washington area. And Diane Gardner, who is a CPA in Rathdrum, Idaho, is going to drive up to see me in Spokane, and we're going to have dinner. She's going to go to the event. It's going to be a real good time. So, Jackie, nice. Welcome back to the to I guess the mainland. I guess can we call it mainland? That's not bad, is it?
Sure. I don't know. I'm Canadian. Yeah. You're asking the wrong guy. But welcome close, because I make it close to that area every once in a while as well. I don't make it out to Hawaii. So Jackie, maybe we can have beer sometime.
There you go. There you go. Hey, speaking of other people like Canadians, I think, even though I think she's U.S. but lives in Canada, is Rachel Barnett of Gentle Frog, right? So Rachel has been a longtime sponsor of this, and where she is most powerful is she will take you from 0 to 100 in QuickBooks. If you don't know anything about it and you think you need to know about it for your business, contact Rachel over at Gentle Frog. She'll get you going.
And we always want to thank the other Mike Milan, Baltimore Mike, who brings beer to us personally. And thanks again, Mike. He's been a massive supporter of the show, and also fills my text messages and Mike's text messages as you guys goes back and forth about football every week. So I appreciate all of it. Even the text messages are fun to look at.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Baltimore Ravens have the most penalty yards ever. It's because they're cheaters. they always break the rules.
That sounds like someone that cheers for a team that now has a loss.
So you are paying attention to American football now. All of a sudden, the NFL is important in your life.
I keep a little bit of an eye on my fantasy football team, which is awful. So just a little tiny look at it, and kind of caught that this week. So yes,
yeah, I got it. Yeah, I tell you what, it was a short time coming, because for the last month they have skimmed by every single week. I mean, this isn't the best team the Chiefs have had. I'm going to tell you that. This is not the best year Patrick Mahomes has had. I'll tell you that. They just kept winning, even if it was luck. Even if it was help from the refs. We just kept winning.
We'll take it. You got to take it.
Take it. Hey, there you go. There you
go. Next, we thanked Pat. We thanked Rachel. Larry Weinstein, CPA out of Houston. Thanks again, Larry. If you need an accountant, you got to go track down Larry Weinstein, the cash flow cowboy out in Houston, and he will help you out.
Dude, he just keeps getting better and better and better. I mean, I talk to him at least several times a week. His knowledge about improving your cash flow has increased. I don't know how many times more than even last year. This is the guy you want to put more cash in your pocket as a CPA. Go check out Larry.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to thank Courtney, because I don't know, it's flipping over to me. Thank you, Courtney, again, for being our beer sponsor, and also bringing us Devin, who re-upped for 10 weeks. It's going to take him well into the new year. So man, we've got all of our sponsors here are like at least to the end. Okay. Hey guys, some of you guys are only running to the end of the year. We're getting pretty close, but everyone's going to the end of the year and into the next. So keep that in mind. And if you guys want to be, any of you out there want to be mentioned on the podcast, it is the most cost-effective, valuable sponsorship you'll ever buy. Just go to mikeandblaine.com, buy us some beer. It's $5 a week. That's all you got to do. Buy a beer for $5, and we will mention you on the show, and we'll even promote your business.
And you will live on the internet forever in the form of Mike and Blaine. Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
There you go. So, all right. So, hey, let's talk about today, right? So, I'm talking about the topic, and the topic was about, it seemed like it was dancing. And, this is not Dancing with the Stars. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the fact that there's a point in time where you really have to think about becoming more of an owner, less of an operator, right? That's the conversations I've been having this week. And if you don't know anything about this show, our topics come about the last like 15 minutes before we start. I come up with, hey, what have I been talking to people about this week? And this week was about strategic planning. And in a lot of cases, it's about, well, how do you do it? And I think you can set the foundation for strategic planning super early, even if you're a one-man show, if you just start to look at it the way I'm going to describe today. So strategic planning, that's what I'm talking about. Is that what you thought it was when I wrote the description? Because I know you only had like 2 minutes to look at it.
Yeah, I was coming in hot from another meeting, so I glanced at it, saw the title, and went, yeah, okay. And so, yeah, so no, I didn't dive in as much on the topic as I usually do, at least to take a closer look. But there is a transition that the time when it really, I felt it was when I had my creative agency. And there's this point where you move from being like, for me, I was a designer and a business owner, but I was doing all the work. When I first started my business, I was doing all everything. I was doing all the design. I was a designer looking for work. And within a couple of years, all of a sudden you have staff and like a team and an office, and I had a partner. And then no, I'm no longer doing design anymore. Like it was what I started the business, but you transition, and also you wake up one day and realize I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur. And that's what I spend 99% of my day on is advancing the business forward and figuring out where it's going to go. Right.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time with banks, of course, over the last 20 years. And what I realized is that there's really only about 5 functions of a business. Right? So part of what I do is try to simplify everything that we're doing to make it easy to understand how to run your business. So if you look at it as 5 basic functions, you're like going, 5? Shit, that's a lot. That doesn't seem simple at all. Yeah, but it's like, of course you got sales, you got a marketing side. Some people combine sales and marketing, but really they're 2 different functions. You got your product. Yeah, you got your product, which is really, I call it operations. So your service or your product or whatever, it's just operations. How are you delivering on your promise? You've got an HR function and you've got a finance function, right? So those are the 5. So sales, marketing, finance, HR, and product or operations. And in the beginning, it's just like you and I, right? I am the consultant who provides the service, sells the service. I have to manage my own payroll and all that because I'm me. All those things happen. How the company got started was out of my pocket. But then as you grow, complexity grows, and sometimes you reach capacity. I can only do so much. Like a salesperson can only make so many calls a day. The operations team can only do so many things per day, right? It's just, that's what happens. Mm-hmm. Well, what we forget is that these things have to be choreographed into a dance. That's why I called it in the description. It's like a choreographed dance. Whereas if my sales goal for the year is $1 million, well, what I realized from the data is one salesperson can really only be expected to sell 200,000. Well, now I need 5 salespeople to hit the $1 million, right? And then that means the marketing team has to provide X number of leads so a salesperson can close it. And the HR team has to hire 5 salespeople. And then the finance team has to come up with the salary and the distribution of compensation to support 5 salespeople. And then the production team has to keep up with $1 million worth of production. So we don't think about it that way. We just think about it like this just all happens. No, you have to make sure you plan it to whereas you don't outrun your own operation.
Yeah. And oh man, Spidey sense was tingling so heavy when you started to describe that, because the way you describe it, it still feels like it all falls into place. I've got my sales team. They're worth a couple $100,000 each. 5 of them are going to make $1 million. But then you start rattling off of the other things. And the thing that just because both of us are kind of into cash flow and forecasting everything else. And the first thing that comes to my head is, I'm not sure there's any net profit there at the end of that, because you start going like, how much are you paying the sales team? Because you're making $1 million, but you paid out probably 600-700, you're paying out at least probably half of that on your sales team. And then you're talking about, okay, now we have our operations and our production team. Well, how much do they cost? And how much do you cost? And how much? And so by the time you're done, it still circles back to, you need to make sure that the number one point in your sort of strategy is that these numbers actually work out and you actually have profit and some wiggle room because you're not going to forecast it right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Finance is one of those things. So what I've done and what I've been teaching people, and this is where this came up. I actually talked about this in my strategies course at the university. And what's funny is, you know how the universe talks to you. It's just like going, you need to tell this other person about it. So I had a client today on the call that has their own client. Remember, I talked to accountants that has their own client that is trying to go from 6 million to 10 million. And they're struggling with that transition. Why? Because they've always been the owner. They've always been the one that everything runs through. And I said, well, listen, this is all about thinking about the 5 functions of business that I just talked about. And then what you have to do is create these swim lanes. And that's what, you've heard of swim lane charts, right? So it's not something I created. It's just something I use. But I use it so I can manage what is the goal of my finance department, my HR, even if it's one person, even if it's 2 people doing 3 of them, what is the goal I want to accomplish in finance or HR or sales or marketing or product? Those should all align to, I want to be a $10 million business. So what do all 5 of those things have to do to make us a $10 million business? And that's where it came to me. It says, this has to be choreographed. It's a planned event. It's not just, it happens.
Mm-hmm. Boy,
I got deep. I got deep real fast. Normally we don't get deep real fast, but I got deep real fast. Sorry about that.
No, but some of those things that you talked about, again, like they start to raise alarm bells for me, because the timing of when you do that is really critical. So like you're talking about a business going from 6 to 10 million. That's different from 600 grand to $1 million. That's different from $1 million to 2 million. Like, in other words, you got to be really careful of trying to scale too fast. And from a business owner perspective, entrepreneur perspective, like you're just talking about having, a business owner trying to sometimes they can do too much, but you can also let go too soon. That's the other thing, is that your business, how often is your business, like how much of your business is built on quality? It's built on reputation. It's built on all of these, the other fundamentals, the delivering on time, delivering what they expect, basically your quality control in a lot of ways, and the personality of your brand and everything. If you start to lose that, you can run into trouble really quickly. And I've seen businesses where they've kind of let go of that too soon, because on paper it made sense. And then they started to go, wow, quality went down, or our branding, marketing, like our message, our mission started to go off track. And all of a sudden the numbers start reflecting it. And you're backpedaling fast, trying to go, what the hell did we do wrong? And it's like, sometimes you can let go of those basics. So there's growing pains, but it's also like, it's not just on paper. It's when you make the decision to say, I got to step away, how much do you still keep your hand in the pot? Like, how close are you to your product and the quality to make sure that carries on when you're not there looking at it every single day?
Yeah, well, that ties directly into the 4 drivers of business value, right? Which is, well, first of all, you get your product, then you got process and people and profit. Those are the big 4. Now, some people go 7, some people go 3, but there's the big 4. Got to have the right product, something somebody wants to buy. And they want to buy it because you've created the right need, you're solving the right problem, you have the great quality for it. You got process. Process is what helps you scale. Process is, I can repeat this over and over and over again. And that's what gives you the confidence as a CEO to says, as long as we're following the process, this should work everywhere. It should work in Charlotte as it does in Scottsdale. At least from my point of view. So what is it you're going to measure to make sure it okay. So you don't think it will? You laugh.
Well, I think I again, like it feels very much on paper. Process is only as good as the people you have in place, right? people to execute that vision and execute that mission and execute the process. So you can have a process well documented. If you don't have the people and the culture in place, it just doesn't happen. So, and I'm not saying that's it's not right, but it is, I guess where I'm going is you can't afford to have blind spots. You can't afford to have gaps, because the process might be good, but you have to have the people, you have to have the culture, you have to have the product. You can't afford to drop anything, because you will feel it. It's not like you get bigger and suddenly you're insulated from issues. Ask Starbucks. It doesn't quite work that way, right?
Yeah, so I noticed in the chat there was something. Apparently I chatted, which is really my marketing team, beer cash beer. It looks like. You see that? I'm like, hey, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, I just saw something pop up and I didn't even realize it was you. Okay.
I didn't either. I'm like, oh, wait a second. I was thinking it was Pat or somebody else. No, it was Jeff. it was me. It was me. I didn't know I did it. So, but no, I mean, that's so true. That's why all, well, at least three of those have to work in harmony: the product, the process, and people. Now, I'm the type of guy, though, if you have the right process, you can get away with a lower quality person, meaning not as many qualifications. I don't need as much experience. And the perfect example of that is McDonald's, right? If I can teach anybody to press a button, anybody can go in there as their first job with no experience on anything in the world and do the job because there's a good process there. Now,
okay, but does that follow suit in a Michelin star restaurant? Maybe it does. I'm just asking. Like,
with the right. Well, here's what I can tell you with a Michelin star restaurant is that they're going to have processes dialed in so tightly that things happen. It's almost like, you ever seen the show The Chef or The Bear?
Yes. Yeah. It's a good show.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But what they're trying to do is come up with not only what their identity is, but to get the Michelin star, but the process that's involved with doing it, right? There's such a discipline in how everybody acts, how the customer is greeted, to how the plate is presented, to how the food is cooked, of course, and obvious and prepared, and then the whole experience of the dining, of them dining.
Absolutely, but the buck still ends with the person, and do you have the right person? And I'm gonna say this because there's a restaurant in town here. I'm not gonna name which one. Fantastic restaurant. We've always had really good experiences there, except for one time. One time our waiter was awful. And I think he was actually quite new, and they had mishired. Here's the funny part, is somewhere during his service, they realized they had mishired, and he got fired halfway through dinner service.
Mid-shift, yeah.
Mid-shift, he got fired. Somehow we fell through the cracks, and they didn't realize that we were still kind of there and didn't have someone assigned to us. And it was kind of a shit show trying to get like, we're still here. And we realized that guy just got fired. It was kind of funny actually, but at least they took care of business when it's like, this guy is hurting our business. But it still comes down to, and I guess like you still come down to process, when you say process, I think so much people are thinking it's a checklist of how you do things. You still maybe it's about process of how you hire people. Maybe it has to go maybe it's about going all the way through your organization, but it really matters of, do you get the right people in that are actually executing properly what you have in place? And maybe it is just the hiring process. Maybe that's the key, right?
Yeah, but I mean, all right. So in that restaurant, that's a face position, right? So, I mean, all right. So hotel staffing, remember, I mean, I built a hotel staffing company, and I focused on hiring for the heart of the house. That's what I called it, the heart of the house. It wasn't the face of the house meaning the guy, I'm in a hotel, you're going to meet the bellhops. You're going to meet the desk clerks, the front desk clerks. You're going to meet the bartender and the servers and those type of things. Those are more face type positions. You don't necessarily meet and have a big interaction with the housekeeper or the landscaper or the repair crew or the dishwasher or those type of folks. So I focused on heart of the house position, which makes the business run, not the face. Mm-hmm. And so I think you're right. A mishire is when, I'm hiring somebody for the face of the house when they really should be in the heart of the house, right? Because they don't have that skill to interact with the public, even when things are wrong, right? Because I think even I've had bad experiences, but I've had a good person on the other side of the bad experience that you're like, oh, man, we're going to work with you on this. I get it. Yeah. So what you're telling me is that not only was it a bad experience, but the person couldn't handle the bad experience on the other side of the transaction.
Yeah. And can that be picked up? This is probably a topic for another day, but can that be picked up on process? Can you truly have a process in place that's going to help you without anything else happening? Tell you if this is the right person that is a culture fit, that is going to treat your customers right. Because how many times I guarantee you've been into places where there's a manager in place in a restaurant or a store or something like that. And like, these guys are affecting this business. Like, they're going to maybe not kill this business, but they're costing them money. And I don't even think the business knows it. Right. And, can you pick that wrong fit up with a checklist?
Yeah. So that's why I think, at least a decade ago, I changed the way I interview. I hate tell me your goals in 5 years. Or I just hate all these basic questions that everybody's got a canned answer to. I just hate it that way. So I always try to come up with a way that simulates the thing I want you to do the most, right? For example, like for an interview for a marketing person, before the interview, I just say, hey, here's a product. Come in and present what you think are the features and benefits of this product. That's going to be your interview. And what I was trying to simulate was that person in a conference room with me trying to sell me on the ideas of how we're going to present this new product.
Yeah, but now, like, that's a great example of, is that actually effective? Like, are you getting the best person, or are you just getting the person that can think on their feet and bullshit?
No, it's not thinking on their feet, because I gave them a week's preparation. It's not thinking on their feet. This is a week's preparation. When you come, it isn't a standard. Yeah. It's not a standard interview. Here's it. Here's what we think this product's going to do. Here's the customer. Here's how we're going to present it. I'll give them kind of our layout of what we're trying to do. And it does two things for me. One, it tells me, is that the right person that can think about it? Are they wrapped around our mindset on what this product can do for the customer? But two, even if they're not, I might get some good ideas out during the interview, right? Like, my guys were a good idea, even though they're a terrible person. but it's one of those things I'm like going, can I sit in a meeting? Because I'm thinking at that point in time, can I sit in a meeting with you and work out a problem? That's what the interview became to me. Yeah. Sales the same way, hey, come in here. This is what it is. Here's the features and benefits. I want you to talk about how you would present this to somebody, because I'm the CEO, you're the salesperson or sales manager, sales director. What's your strategy on putting this product out there? So I would make people do real world stuff, which is something you can, I give you a week, prepare for this. Come here ready to talk about this topic, not about your background, not about your biggest fear in life. Oh, I hate spiders. I don't give a shit if you hate spiders, right? We don't have any spiders in the office right now. Sometimes there's a spider, but not today. Yeah,
no, like, I think it's useful. And I think there's a component there that is, you're going to be informed by, but how do you know if they're a culture fit based on that? How do you know if they fit in with the rest of your team, that they'll be a team player? How do you, like, does that come through?
Well, because it's a simulated meeting, right? It's simulated like we're working together. So I can figure it out in 30 minutes to an hour, whether or not, I mean, because that's all you got anyway. Whether or not, if you tell me a college story about how a professor was mean to you and how you overcame the challenge, I would rather you say that, hey, listen, I noticed that on your website you said this, that, and the other. It might work better if we did this. If you come to the interview and told me how I can improve something I gave you and it made it better, and I'm like, holy shit, that's really good insight. That's real. That's thinking beyond. That's what I want, because what you did in college has no bearing on what I'm going to ask you to do tomorrow in this business.
Well, I agree, but also doesn't have a lot of insight on whether they can work with your team necessarily. Like they can execute.
That's why you have
tactic, right?
Yeah, but that's why you have more people in the team meeting in the interview. It is a simulated meeting, and we all act as if it's a meeting instead of an interview. Right? Like, hey, I mean, you're meeting new. You're like, oh, these are new people. They don't. How would you know? Because we all have meetings with new people every single day. You might be in front of one of my customers that you've never met before.
Yeah, but like I will say that I had a really good run of hiring people, and then had some spottiness, especially like when I wasn't really involved in the hire. And when I had a really good run going, one of the things we would do is we would arrange, like, this is just how we used to do it. We would arrange to have the interview, and then we'd go for lunch. And I usually found out a lot more about them at lunch than I did in the interview, because it's disarming. You're learning about them. And a friend of mine who I think has one of the best hit rates for staff, like, oh my God, this guy's got good staff. It seems like every time he said, no, not all the time. Sometimes we get ones that don't work out. I'm like, yeah, but your hit rate is immensely better. And I said, what's your secret? Like, what do you do? And he's in the service industry. And he just said, he goes, I ask him what they do outside of work. And that's it. But he said, what it does is you find out like what they're about. Do they have other interests? Are they well-rounded people? Do they like to travel? And then they get passionate about something. And then when that starts coming out, you start to, it helps pull back the curtain of what they're like as a person. And that's how he finds really good people. I'm like, geez, that is a really good tactic to take. Right. And it's because that's a challenging part, is you can check all the boxes. Again, we're not far, like I know it feels like we've strayed, but to me, it's like the process. I think when you say process, it can feel like a checklist, but and maybe there's ways to deal with this, but there's gaps you can have in the checklist, and especially hiring people. How do you cut through so that it's not just checklist of they can execute on this task versus they care about the company, they care about their fellow employees, they're going to work with their colleagues really well, they're going to work with their customers and treat them right. Those are things that are really tricky to ascertain, I think, with a checklist at times, right?
You know, the good thing about checklists and being able to find gaps is if you use a product called Dry Run. So, I mean, if you're looking to have a checklist that you can find the gaps in your cash flow going forward, I want you to contact dryrun.com, because they will show you your gaps. So, what you got something to say about that?
Thank you for that beautiful segue. As a matter of fact, I do. No, if you, we help, of course, we help you forecast your cash flow, model scenarios, understand where you're going. But basically, here's the checklist that this is when you should come talk to us. Your team is buried in spreadsheets working on cash flow. You're the CFO and you're looking at hours wasted, and they're delivering spreadsheets to you, and there's broken equations and sometimes inaccurate data, and it doesn't show up till the end of the week. And then you got to compile it all into something and consolidate all the locations and figure all this stuff out. And then you go present a spreadsheet with 50 tabs to the management team, and you can see their eyes roll back in their head. Come talk with us at Dry Run, because we will save you not only hours a week, we're going to give you something that you can walk into the management team with, and they're going to understand what they're looking at. And that conversation is going to be about how you move the business forward, not what is going on in this spreadsheet. So come and see us at dryrun.com, and we'd love to talk with you.
You hear me all the time say that is the best cash flow forecasting software on the planet. Go talk to them, especially if you're a large company looking for ways to get out of these spreadsheets, free up time, and get your finger on the pulse of where cash is going. Contact Blaine.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy.
Nice
all right, so we got way off track because we went into a damn HR conversation, and I'm trying to talk about how do you, and I think it starts with a goal, and every goal to me has to be a SMART goal, right? A SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time phased. So the thing is, I think when you look at those 5 things, and I build, have you ever heard of, you probably have, a swim lane diagram?
You mentioned it before, but no, I can picture a swim lane though, but I don't really know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So think about a swimming pool where you got these 5 functions, and they all have their own tasks that they're doing between now and, because the SMART goal is time phased, we'll call it a year from now. But everything they do should be focused on that SMART goal. It isn't how many, HR applications we processed, unless we have a metric that says, if I don't process 100 applications, I can't hire one person, if that's a metric that we're following. But every function has to have a reason for why they're doing what they're doing in their lane, because it supports the end goal for all of it. And what you're talking about is the timing of it, right? Because again, sometimes the sales manager can't hire a salesperson because there's not a good job description that's been approved by HR, or finance hasn't given them a compensation, matrix of how much they can pay for this person. Or maybe we can't add a new truck because we don't know, how much revenue that truck's going to produce, or how much inventory we should put on the truck. There's all these things that have to line up, and you've got to think about what has to happen in order for this to happen. So it's a backwards planning process. So I start with the end in mind. That's start with the end in mind. That's from the clear path to cash, and work backwards. If this happened, what else had to happen to get there? But there's 5 different functions that I think about in order for that to happen, and they have to team up. One has to beget the other, almost like the Bible.
Oh man, I agree with you. I think but the thing that, again, like the thing that didn't feel like it comes out in like SMART,
okay,
is where is the customer in there?
Okay, so when that's really important. So when you think of a business creating a goal for themselves, and I want to do $1 million next year, you're saying there's no customer involved there.
Well, what I'm saying is
in the SMART goal. In the SMART goal,
what I'm saying is the appreciate. It feels to me it's like, well, the customer's paying us $1 million. Yeah, why are they paying you and not the competition? Why are they like? The reason I'm bringing this up is because when you see all the, like, a lot of businesses struggle, fail, and we're talking even the big ones, so often they've lost sight of the customer. They've lost sight of the customer that's either buying the coffee or the camera or the car and it's like, yeah, but everything else lines up. Everything in our strategy, our checklist makes sense, but it feels like there's a disconnect from the customer. And it's like, yeah, but the customer rules all. The customer isn't going to buy from you because you've got all of these check marks. And it feels to me like it's probably buried in there, but I don't think buried is good enough. I think you're the ultimate decider is the customer. And is that accommodating that?
All right. So first of all, any of you guys in the U.S., he said buried. I know it sounded like buried, but he said buried.
I'm remember the word you said earlier that you dish. Oh yeah, no, You said dishwasher.
Oh, I
I almost called you on that. You wash dishes, you don't wash them.
All right, so I agree with you, but that's tactics. That's not strategy. Strategy is, what do all the parts of the business have to do for me to get $1 million per year in revenue? The tactics I use have to keep the customer at heart. How I do my part as the finance, how I do my part as sales or marketing or whatever. I think you're right. We have to keep the customer in the forefront, or you can't reach the goal. What's funny about SMART goals is you're right. It doesn't have a purpose. It just says a what. I'm going to do this. What? I'm going to make $1 million by the end of next year. That's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time phased. It doesn't say why, right? I mean, that's the big thing that I think is missing out of every goal is, why do you do that? Well, I think that's where your tactics come in, because your tactics connect the goal, that SMART goal, to the mission and vision of your customer or of your company, right? The reason I'm doing this is because of that, whatever it is. I want to be, the reason that cash flow is eliminated as a reason that businesses fail. That's me. That's my whole mission of the company is I want to be the reason that cash flow no longer exists as a reason why you fail. Eradicate it. But the strategy to get there, you're right. It's not included. It's not included or stated. It's implied. Yeah,
I get. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just think it's we don't usually argue on the show or go counter too much.
Is this argue? Is this arguing?
But I guess I'm not arguing. But I'm just emphasizing, cautioning that.
You should look at Twitter more. Those people argue.
Oh boy, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't looked at that in years.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, that's probably a reason. Yeah. No, like I just think it's just worth a little bit of a reminder that there's because I've seen it before with businesses where they just but I checked everything off, I'm good, and it's there's more to it because and you could be right, like it's like, okay, from a tactic perspective, how do we do that? Yeah, I get that, but it feels like strategy is up here, tactics are up here. Like it's like, yeah, but really the battle's won way down here, right? And sometimes I think it's easy to lose sight, especially as we're talking about businesses that are looking to scale. And it's like, yeah, but just be careful not to disconnect from the things that your customers valued and that they were willing to pay for.
Totally agree. Actually, I agree with you there. So I'm not even arguing. You want to argue about that? Me agreeing?
Okay. This is how little we argue is after Mike mistakenly made a comment on our own post. We both wrote,
I didn't make this.
Oh, you didn't write that?
No, I didn't write that.
Oh, okay. That was just me that somehow, how did we get two of them under Mike and Blaine?
Okay.
Anyway.
That wasn't me.
I don't know how this works.
Seriously? So there's 3 comments there.
Well, there's 3 comments. I think one
I made
Mike
0.
And 2 is me responding to Mike. So
I made 0 comments. Me personally, I made 0.
The first one.
No, I have a marketing guy now. I have a marketing guy now that kind of posts on my behalf. I think he commented for me.
Oh, okay. I was making fun of you. So we were talking and I wasn't paying that much attention. And so now we've got all kinds of weird comments on our, that's quite all right.
All right. So think about it. This is the last show before Thanksgiving, right? The last show before Thanksgiving. We're going to take next week off, right? Did we decide that?
Sure.
Otherwise it would be on Thanksgiving. I know it's not Canadian Thanksgiving. That was last month.
Well, no, I'm actually taking Thanksgiving off. We might be able to bump it. Well, no, actually we can't. I'm booked up. So yeah, I guess we'll take next week off. Boy, that's 2 in like a month and a half of taking the weeks off.
We're slackers. We are such slackers.
We're slacking, but that's all right.
But at the same time, I want to say that this is really exciting for me, right? I mean, we are heading into season 5. Yep. Think about that. I mean, 5 seasons of Mike and Blaine. You're like, what do you mean 5 seasons? Yeah. The first year was like kind of a partial year. And then there's been, 3 full years past that.
3 full years past that, and we're just heading into our 4th full year, which we'll call our 5th.
No, we didn't call it the 5th year. Yeah, we didn't call it the 5th year. We called it the 5th season. Think about it.
5th season, yeah.
So that's how sitcoms do it. That's how sitcoms do it. Sometimes they'll do a spring season and a fall season.
Yeah. No, I don't get it. Some of those sitcoms are like, we're into season 24. And it's like, you've been on for 3 years. Like, get over yourself. Like, some kind of bad math happening there. But anyway.
But in any case, I'll tell you what, we have merch. We've got all kinds of cool stuff. We got ways to support the shows in the form of beer. Here's what I want people to do. I just want them to like, subscribe, comment, engage with the post, tell their friends, because you've seen it. Every time somebody subscribes, what happens to our downloads? Oh, it's like a hockey. Through the roof. It's just awesome. Every time. Yeah. It's the best thing ever. So if you got a friend, just say, hey, just subscribe. Just subscribe. Just go download. Just go push subscribe and get all the episodes loaded up on your phone. That is one of the best feelings for us right there. You've done your job.
And $5, we will talk about you, talk about your business. Like Mike said, it is evergreen. It stays around. $5, 52 weeks for $26. No,
what?
$260.
Dude. Okay. I'm gonna take back my thing on dry run.
This was the latest one I had, but it's a little stronger than I thought.
So for a whole year, what is a whole year?
Well, a whole year would be $510 if it was $10 an episode. So that's why I said
$260. $260.
But 26 weeks is what I meant. But it's $260, where it would be half the year, which would be $5.
Yeah, $260 gets you the whole year sponsorship. Dude, I don't know anything. I don't know any advertising that's that cheap. Nothing. You can't. I don't think you can even write on a piece of paper and put it outside your house and get better advertising for that for less than $260.
And I will say that we mentioned you at the start of the show before Mike and I get through our beer and this happens. So, MikeandBlaine.com, sign up. We've got merch. And we just love to hear from you. Comment on our shows. Make sure you subscribe, follow everything else. So next week we're going to be off. Apparently, we just decided that no, it's Thanksgiving, so we're going to take the week off, and we will see you the following week, first week of December.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.